duduk Okay. Just a brainstorming, just throw the ideas about the exchange coupling and the composite hard soft magnets. Okay. This is me when I was still slim. Okay. Maybe I want to share something about this picture. Something so special when I was doing my PhD. In second year, we have a poster competition for all the second year PhD students. So surprisingly, I won the competition and my name is here in the plaque. So they hang the plaque in the museum. Then I got £500 for that award. So only 2 Malaysian names you can find here. Me, another one, someone here from UTEP. This one, Joy.
They just survive that case.
Huh?
Who is that?
No, this is the name. This is for 2008, 2007, 2006.
The case Blackwood. What's that?
Case Blackwood is another. This one is for biomaterial. There's a group biomaterial, maybe for metal. Okay. So maybe we can do the same for the one as well. Okay, next is the outline. So I'm going to talk about the permanent magnets, the characterization, not really characterization, the types and development, okay, and then the nanocomposite and the FEV, a bit about exchange coupling, issues on the rare earth, and why we have to convert from rare earth to non-rare earth nanocomposite, which is nanocomposite ferrites, and just throw out the idea of research questions. So this is just introduction. I think you already know about this classification. Is for modern permanent magnet. We have before Alico magnetic steel, Alico hard ferrous, Alico bulk. So today I would like to talk about NdFeB, nanocomposite NdFeB, and nanocomposite ferrites. So to get the ideas how strong is NdFeB, you can see. So this is the lodestone, and then this is the ferrites, and this is the NdFeB. So you can see the difference in size. So every single of these, they have the same magnetic energy, but different in size. That shows that size is very important to produce high performance permanent magnet. So discovery. So for any materials, I believe that it is important to know who discovered the material. Okay. So officially, 2 groups discovered NdFeB. First is crude from General Motors, and the second one is Sumitomo. Sagawa. Sagawa is the researcher. Sumitomo is the company. But actually, there is another group in Ukraine, Shaban and groups actually found the NdFeB in 1979. But they don't recognize the results. That's important point. To make sure that our findings is recognized, we have to do. I'm not sure because the journal is in Ukraine. Yeah, that's why I don't know. But you can see from here the paper, crude and Sagawa is just next page. The same journal, 1984, same volume. It's just next page, 2083, 2083 to 2087. So simultaneously, yeah, both of them. So 1984, in fact 1983, 1984.
Adi Panais ni
Adi Panais claimed that he's the first in join the group, but I'm not sure. Yeah, he's one of them. Adi Panais. But I don't know why his name not there.
He didn't report.
Maybe after that, I mean among the pioneer, Haji Panais. Until now, we're still looking for NdFeB performance. Okay, next is the issues on rare earth magnet. Okay, actually for single phase, NdFeB, I would say already saturated in energy product. For anisotropic, it can goes up to 64 megagauss oxide, 64, and for isotropic, just up to 16 or 20 for maximum megagauss oxide. So I would say it's considered saturated. We cannot go beyond that. Yeah? Even for theoretical value for NdFeB is 500 over kilojoule per meter cube. But until now, nobody can achieve that value, that energy product. And number two is the cost. Cost always the main problem in material fabrication. In fact, when they try to fabricate NdFeB, that's due to the cobalt price. Because before NdFeB is a samarium cobalt. Because the cobalt price is very high at that point, at that time, so they have to fabricate new material, which is NdFeB. So same thing happen here. The price of rare earth is keep increasing year after year. And number three is reactive, chemically reactive. I think you know why. And then it's corrosive, very easy to oxidize and not green. Okay, I will talk about not green later. And to overcome the issues on rare earth, first we reduce the amount of rare earth in nanocomposite and NdFeB. So we reduce. There is one conference. The conference gathered all the industrial company. So one company claimed that they can produce double energy product if they reduce half of the NdFeB. Okay, but the recipe is secret. We don't know. So we reduce the Re, the rare earth, or it's just non-Re. We don't put any Re, rare earth. That's two options at the moment. Okay. So use of Nd. Okay, there's the three main problem associated to the use of Nd. First, the high supply risk of Nd. We're not sure either for the next 5 years we still can get Nd. Okay, because the situation becomes more alarming. If we consider that the use of Nd is increasing at the rate of 7% annually. Okay, and the second problem is the natural resources. Only one country, okay, dominant, monopoly the production of Nd, which is China. Even we have rare earth mines in South Africa, but in South Africa also owned by Chinese, by Chinese companies. But I read one of the papers said that not 97%, it's almost 100% rare earths. So the production came from China. So now China monopoly the price, so they can play around the price. Okay, and the last, not green, because of mining of neodymium requires using some acid. Some acid. So the acid which together with waste make useless the field and all the surroundings. So they will contaminate and generate poison to the soil for decades. That's why I said it's not green. Okay. So maybe I found some of the researchers try to recycle. I think termasuk one of them. Recycle the rare earth. But the issue is we cannot recycle completely. We cannot get almost back all the rare earth. Let's say for samarium cobalt.
We don't recycle, right? We don't recycle ferrite.
Oh, ferrite. I mean, I thought you know Linus project.
No.
That not recycle, lah.
The Linus is producing elemental.
Recycle is from this scale.
Ah,
But one of the project that is try to recycle rare earth. There's one project, and not from UPM, recycle rare earth. Okay, next is development of current studies. So we are looking for new material, new magnetic material after NdFeB. So I think this is a popular graph. You can see the NdFeB stuck over here, can remove more. And this is the production, keep increasing year after year. And then this is the chart show that NdFeB even NdFeB still not green, still corrosive, but the production is still high in 2010. So Haji Panayis and co-workers from this university, Delaware, how to pronounce Delaware, 4.5 million grant, and there's another one, General Electric Global Research, received 2.2 million grant to develop new magnetic materials. So now everybody trying to replace NdFeB. Okay. So the current market is over 7 billion and expected to grow to 14 billion by 2020. So almost double by 2020. So just imagine if we can replace the NdFeB. So how rich we going to be? So this is Haji Padais. I met him once. He wins 4.4 million to develop next generation magnets. Okay. Okay. This is not related to magnets. Okay. From this picture, what you can see here is a motivation to develop new invention. This is a baby. Okay, not a baby. And this is a pillow. This is a pillow. The pillow is ergonomically designed to make the baby feel comfortable. You see, they designed the pillow like a fingers hugs the baby. Okay. Do you know how much it costs? This sell in Malaysia. It's over 150 ringgit Malaysia. Over 150, around that. So, is it like a simple invention? Just a pillow but not ordinary pillow. Okay, this is a award-winning invention. Yeah? They use this pillow in the NICU hospital. Yeah? You see here in Spain, in Mexico, they use in hospital. Yeah? So even we think that the invention is very small, but it's beneficial. And this one is the Y cry, baby cry analyzer. Okay, they invented for analyze type of cry. Let's say the frequency is like this. Then we have 5 buttons here. So let's say blue for bored, the baby boring. Green, hungry.
That would be easy.
That's why I said they try to make an invention that simple but it's user friendly. We really need that. That's the motivation. Because last few weeks, Dr. Kanagasan said that why we have to make material that already in the market, because we want to improve. We want to improve our community. There must be a contribution to knowledge, even it's very little contribution. And the name of the pillow is the Zaki.
You have a battery powered one?
No, it's just a pillow. But this one is battery. But this one is just a pillow.
I thought the
But it's quite heavy.
it has a motor with powered hand.
Okay, we can invent after this. It's just a motivation, not related to anything. I just want to make us motivated to create something new. Okay, so okay, next. Okay, the idea of eliminate the problem, to avoid the problem of rare earth, we try to reduce the rare earth. Okay, this is the first group, Hurun. Normally we call it as Phillips material. Hurun. They developed a nanocomposite with iron boron as a dominant material. So iron boron.
Hurun is Dutch.
Yes, Dutch, Netherlands. Dutch. Hurun is a Dutch. Okay.
Nice
So.
place. Kata masuk bintang. Kata masuk already bintang.
Yeah, ke? Okay, Philip Research Laboratory is popular. Okay. So they try to make a composite with iron boron and NdFeB. They reduce the amount of rare earths down to 4. For stoichiometric, Nd around 12%. But they reduce down to 4% of NdFeB. But in this material, so the dominant material is iron boron. So the remanence increase up to 1.2 Tesla. So normally for single phase NdFeB can go just 0.8 Tesla. So they enhance the remanence. But due to dominant of iron boron, so we get only less 0.4 Tesla for coercivity. So we increase remanence, but we decrease the coercivity because we only use very little NdFeB. Okay, this is the graph hysteresis loop for 4.5% NdFeB. So we can see here, we get the remanence more than 1 Tesla. It is difficult to get more than 1 Tesla for NdFeB. Okay, next, this is the motivation for nanocomposite NdFeB. It's a combination of large coercive field and large remanence. Or for hard NdFeB, it has very high magnetocrystalline anisotropy. So, and we can get either this for completely exchange couple, we get square hysteresis loop, or we can get like this king. The second quadrant is king. It shows that it's not completely exchange couple. Okay, so from the model Stoner and Wolfach model, okay, the remanence ratio must be less than 0.5. But okay, if we decrease the size below 50 nanometer, we can get more than 0.5. That's the value that we are trying to achieve. Okay. So this is the magnetic properties for nanocrystalline Mel-spun NdFeB. So this one is not for sintered magnet. This one for Mel-spun. Okay. For stoichiometry, NdFeB, so the value of Nd is about less than 12%. 12%. If we decrease the value of Nd, we get NdFeB plus alpha ion. And then we can see the Jr is increased. Okay, the Jr is increased, but the coercivity decreased. But if we increase the Nd percent up to this one is up to here 1920, so we get high coercivity but low, down to 0.7 Tesla for remanence. Okay. Next is exchange coupling. So that's an important concept in nanocomposite exchange coupling. But exchange coupling is not only happen in ferromagnetic materials, soft and hard magnets. Can happen. This can occur in ferromagnet and antiferro as well. We have layer ferromagnetic and antiferro, but it must be above Néel temperature because it's below. The antiferro is randomly oriented. Okay. So the effect of exchange interaction or exchange couple. So at this point we reduce the energy because magnetization always prefer to be in the lowest energy. Okay. So at the lowest energy, so the parallel we have the spin parallel or we can say parallel alignment. Yeah, parallel alignment even in the absence of magnetic field. Okay. So the exchange coupling effect is exerted at the characteristic length scale. We call it exchange length. So different material has different exchange length. Okay. So for 214-1, the exchange length is about 4 nanometer to 5 nanometer. So the exchange couple happen in that distance. Okay. So next, there is a lot of method to study exchange coupling. One of the tool is
Go back.
okay.
What is that number? 2141.
2141 4 nanometer. That means if we have two grain, soft and hard, so not all.
Oh, you're referring to index now.
241. Sorry, 241 is for NdFeB. So normally we call it 241 because Nd2, Ft14, 1b. Sorry. It's just like barium ferrite, BAM. So just a short form. Okay. So there's another tool to study the exchange coupling with micromagnetic simulation. Micromagnetic simulation. This is a numerical simulation to characterize the magnetic behavior. Okay, this can study the relationship between the microstructure and the magnetic properties. Okay. So I want to apply these two nano composite ferrites later on, but we haven't started yet. So I just throw the ideas of using similar like this for nano composite ferrites. Okay. This is a magnetic real magnetic ribbon. Okay, because the material is in ribbon form. Okay, it's very thick, 16 micron thickness. Okay, so we want to model. Of course, the model cannot be exactly similar like the real magnet. So we are in dilemma either in realism and simplicity. We want to simplify, but at the same time we have to make it real. Yeah? Because model must be simple. So that's why we do modeling. Yeah? So from the ribbon, we want to convert into finite element model. Okay, so it's much more easier if we do in cube, rather than in rectangle, in apa? Rectangle. Okay, so infinite element model. So, but we cannot go in real magnet. We have million grains, so we cannot do that in modeling. Yeah, we have to reduce the scale down to nanometer. So we have we can put different grain. Let's say we have here 3 grains. Okay, NdFeB, iron boron, and alpha iron. So there are a lot of models. Some researchers, they use regular grain. So regular grain, but in this case I use irregular, but this is more real, irregular, because in experiment we cannot get regular, uniform grain. So we try to make it irregular, similar to the experiments magnet. And for this, because it's melt span, so the grain is intimate contact, means that no intergranular between the grain, the direct contact, no amorphous. Which is too ideal, because in real magnet, of course, we have percentage of amorphous, but in model we consider it's completely crystalline, 100%. Okay, so this is ideal. Okay, next is how I do the simulation, because we have the micromagnetic solver called FAM. So start from, okay, this one is 2D, previously is 3D, so I just cut, make it in slice, and then I do the discretization. So discretization is we have from that grain, we divide into small tetrahedron. Okay, small tetrahedron. If they say if we design for 30 nanometer, it's quite big, 30 nanometer grain. So I used to wait 3 months to get the results, because if we have a bigger grain, so we have many tetrahedron. Yeah, we have to so the software will calculate. So the software actually solve the LNG, Lindau, Lifshitz, Gilbert, and Gibbs free energy. So I don't do all the programming. So we have all the in package. So we only set the parameter that's intrinsic, exchange constant, anisotropy, and saturation polarization. And then we generate using the micromagnetic solver. There's a lot of micromagnetic solver in the market. Okay, we use it because this is the software that actually my supervisor own. We have a company. He and his ex-student, okay, developed the company. And then after generated using that solver, we get this magnetization configuration. So we can see clearly here. Here we have the what you call magnetic moment in every single grain. Yeah? Then we can convert from this into the hysteresis properties. Yeah? So you just imagine if I wait for 3 months the solver to generate. So at the end of the day, then we will, let's say, use the wrong parameter, so I have to start all over again. Yeah? Even the modeling is look like simple, but we have to really careful on the parameter that we insert, that we put in. Okay, this is one of the example in magnetization reversal. This is the hysteresis loop and magnetization distribution of 40% and maybe 20% iron boron and 20% alpha iron. Okay, refer to the color here. So the advantage of using micromagnetic tools, we can play around with the volume fraction. We can predict. Okay, if let's say we put 40% this, 40% that, so what's going on? What's happened in the hysteresis loop? In fact, we can study the magnetization reversal in every single point. Let's say we can just pick, let's say at this point, okay, for this one I apply 4 Tesla. In fact, we can apply up to 10 Tesla, 9 Tesla, which we cannot do in VSM. VSM only 2 Tesla. 2 Tesla or maximum normally 9 Tesla. But here we can play around with the applied field. Okay, we can put even 20 Tesla, but it will take longer time. Okay. So in this case, we can study what happened in here. What's the exchange coupling between these two? So the idea is to get the exchange coupling, soft and hard must be neighbor. Must be neighbor, or the hard grains must be surrounded by the soft grain. But in experiment, we cannot arrange the position of soft and hard. But in simulation, we can do the arrangement. But in my case, we do it in random because we want to make it real. So we try to make it random. So when we apply a magnetic field, we can see from here the difference of magnetization arrangement from 2 Tesla, 4 Tesla, and then we make a reverse field. Okay, so we can study what happened to the magnetization. So we cannot do that in the real magnet. Okay, this is another example of magnetization distribution and magnetization configuration for 214-1 60% and alpha iron 40%. So the grain size, we can play around, we can control the grain in micromagnetic solver, which is we cannot do that in real. How can we control? So we want 10 nanometer, we want 30 nanometer, we can't do that. So, but here we can do that, then we can study the exchange coupling. So the exchange coupling actually happen when we have two grains, soft and hard. So, in the distance, let's say for NFB around 4 nanometer. So the exchange energy, try to minimize, minimum exchange energy, and make sure that the spin arranged in parallel. So like this is soft, this is hard. Okay, see. But if the grain is bigger, 30 nanometer. So in simulation, 30 nanometer still considered big. Still big. So we can see. So the applied field is pointing up. So we can see the magnetization is not exchange coupling. It's not in order to the magnetic field. Okay, next.
Red is not?
Red is NABB. Right? Red is okay. But okay, we stop at reduce the rare earth. Now, even we reduce the rare earth, we still cannot accommodate the cost, because the cost of rare earth keep increasing year after year, and China monopoly the price. Okay, now people start looking at with non-rare earth magnets. Okay, even the energy product is far inferior compared to the NdFeB system, but always price always make a difference. So Why I try to show you all about the nanocomposite NdFeB, because I want to get the idea from there to fabricate nanocomposite ferrites. Okay, so start thinking to use non-rare earth. Okay, so permanent magnets based on ceramic have been subject of intensive research since discovered more than 50 years ago for strontium ferrite. So most recently, considerable focus has been paid to a new family so-called nanocomposite ferrites. So I tried to Google in Scholar Google, type nanocomposite ferrites and exchange couple or exchange coupling. There's only 10 papers. It's very new. I tried to find the earliest I can get is 2009, maybe 2008, maybe. Yeah? So it's quite new. So I got the idea of nanocomposite ferrites when we got problem to produce NdFeB in our lab. Okay, so Hatif knows we have to deal with the oxidation, with the block box, waiting for block box, and then my final year student had to start their project. So I'm thinking, why not we try nanocomposite ferrites? So I tried to Google that. There's a few groups looking for nanocomposite ferrites as the next generation of magnet to replace the NdFeB. So the same ideas is consisting of hard, M-type, and soft spinel ferrites. Okay, even it's not really high energy product, but still I think we can contribute something to replace the NdFeB. Okay, so in this project I'm going to use high energy bonding, which are already established in ITMA. So hopefully by using this method I can produce nanoscale, because only in nanoscale we can get exchange coupling. But we can see, because I found there is a few papers, even they don't have less than 50 nanometer, they still can get exchange coupling. They still can enhance the remanence and energy product. You can see after this. Okay, this is China monopoly. That is, you can refer to this paper, nearly 100%. Yeah? So for Europe country, they're now thinking, so how, why this happen? Not why, how to replace the material. So this is a very current data. You can see the data is include the month and the day, the year. It's very accurate. Start from December 2008 up to 2011. So the price keep increasing for neodymium. Yeah. Last few weeks, I asked a quotation for one company in US asking for NdFeB powder. So very difficult to get NdFeB powder. So the price is 100 over USD per kilogram. Yeah? Okay. So okay, and then I tried to find, is there any other groups doing the same thing, nanocomposite ferrites? So then I found this group. This group is a European group. This is a collaboration from few countries, from Spain, from Germany, from Europe country. They want to produce nanocrystalline nanocomposite ferrites. So you can refer to this, or you can type this title in Google. You can get this. I read all this is similar like what I'm going to do. Yeah, they want to replace the rare earth magnets. So the idea is using hard and soft ferrites. Okay. So it's new, it's still ongoing, 2012, 2011, 2015. Okay. Okay, so the idea is from hard ferrites and soft ferrites to get nanocomposite hard soft ferrites. Okay. Okay, this is one of the paper 2012. It's very new, from China. Okay, they combine ferrite and nickel zinc ferrite using salt gel. I found most of them using salt gel because in order to get nano size, they use salt gel. Okay, so they play around with the mass ratio 5:1. So they get the exchange coupling. They claim they got the exchange coupling here. Okay, here. Okay, this is the magnetic properties contrast of single ferrites at 1100 degrees Celsius. Actually, they try to sinter at different temperature in 100, just like evolution that we are doing now. Okay, this is the best that they get from 1100 degrees Celsius. Okay, from single barium ferrite. Okay, they got the Ramanan ratio 0.57 and remanence 31. And from single soft ferrites, nickel zinc, they got only 3. Okay, but when they combine between these two, is the mass ratio 5:1. That means 5 for barium ferrite and 1 is for nickel. So always the dominant is hard ferrites, barium ferrites. So so they get the remanent ratio increase to 36. Okay, we can see from the hysteresis loop. So B is the B is the nano composite with the mass ratio 5:1. Okay. Okay, next. Okay. This I met him once di Bang Suroy. You know him? Eh? I think it's quite popular.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember him when I tried to find, it's very difficult to get literature review for these magnets, and then I suddenly thinking of him because he was doing something on ferrites, and then I tried to go back to the proceedings and find and then his name, and then actually he's doing nano composite hard soft ferrites. I think he's among the pioneer for this magnet. Then the first paper in 2000, sorry, this one in 2009, and then this one in 2009, 2011, and this one in around 2009, 2009. So surprisingly, he only used solid state reaction. Okay, I read the paper. Okay, he also combined barium ferrite and nickel zinc, but they prepared nickel zinc by soft chemical method, precipitation for nickel zinc, and then they prepared separately nickel zinc by soft chemical method. But for barium ferrite, they prepared using solid state reaction. That means just conventional method. Okay. And then they prepared separately, and then they combine using the mass ratio. They take around 1 to 5, 1, everything, and then they claim they got the exchange coupling. Okay, this is the XRD. Okay, from these XRD peaks, we can see they managed to get two phases, nickel zinc and barium ferrite. Okay, and they claim that no impurities. So the only peaks belong to barium ferrite and nickel zinc ferrite. Okay, so and then here the different papers. They claim that the BH max can enhance up to 13% after they combine soft and hard. I try to check the grain size for this because in solid state reaction it's difficult to get below 50 nanometer for solid state. For the grain size, so this group get 50 nanometer to 500 nanometer. That's not even less than 50 nanometer, but still they can enhance the properties. So I believe if we use mechanical alloying, maybe we can get better from them, hopefully, inshallah. Okay, next is Ratmanesh. So instead of them, previously they used barium ferrite, and this one they use strontium ferrite and again nickel zinc ferrite. So in this case they use salt gel, and they can go down to hard ferrite 20 nanometer and soft ferrite 15 nanometer in sol gel. Okay, this is the graph. So you can see the remnant ratio. So I always look at the remnant ratio to check either this is the one way to check the exchange coupling. If the remnant ratio, we just technically check if remnant ratio over 0.5, say I would say that is remnant enhancement. Okay, so for single strontium ferrites, okay, for single strontium ferrite, so for the remnant ratio is 0.53. Okay, and then for single nickel zinc, they get very low, 0.3 remnant ratio, and then they try to play around with the mass ratio of soft ferrites. Okay, 10%, 20%, and 30%. So for 20% of nickel zinc, they get 0.63 remnant ratio, which is considered very high for experiment. Okay, so we can see the even the straight line, the black line here is for 20% nickel zinc and 80% strontium ferrites. We can see up enhance the remnants, but that's normal in any materials, in any magnets. If we up the remnants, we have to accept that there's down in porosity. Okay. Okay, this is the, I would say, proposal for making nanocomposite hard soft. Okay. Okay, for hard phase, we have two candidates. We can use strontium or barium ferrites. And soft phase, we can play around. I know for the time being, I think nickel zinc is the best candidate, or maybe we can use other soft phase. Maybe the question is for nickel zinc, either nickel zinc 0.7, 0.3, 0.8, 0.2. I don't know which one is the best. Okay, so the method is just similar with all you guys. Just we have to be concerned about the temperature of sintering. I put it calcine because we do heat treatment in powder. Okay, we cannot do in pellet because after that we have to crush. Because we have to mix, so we have to crush. So better we sinter in powder. Okay, so we mix between soft and hard after we separately made for hard phase and soft phase. I think it will be very tiring work, because we have to do almost double work, doing for soft phase and doing for hard, and then we have to combine. Okay, so mechanical alloying, so sintering or calcining, you can do both powder or in pellet, molding and characterize. So in here we have many questions. Either when we mix, it's different from solid state reaction. A solid state reaction, we don't expect any reaction in the process. But in mechanical alloying, it might be difficult to get two phases pure without impurity. I'm not sure, because my students still doing this. Maybe next presentation I will show the results so we can discuss. Okay. So this is the research questions. Okay, for nanocomposite and the FEB in metallic system. So the contribution of exchange spring is well understood, but not for nanocomposite ferrites. So these are few research questions that I'm going to answer along the way. So first, what is the optimum grain size on volume fraction? For any FEB, theoretically, for hard grain, they found that for hard 20 nanometer, for soft 10 nanometer, and the volume fraction of soft is about 40%. 40% soft and 60% hard. But it depends. It depends on how many grains you apply. That's for macromanitic. So actually how small the grain size to make sure that soft and hard or completely exchange couple. We don't know. And then what is the secret recipe to synthesize? So we're still looking for this. And then the last question is very important. Is it possible for the high energy ball milling to break down the grain down to 30 nanometer? Okay, for the exchange spring. So these questions are very important to make sure that the project is in. Okay, next is just I want to show you the movie. Actually, the movie is made by a researcher from the. You can look at this movie later about the when things get small, something like that. What is so special about this movie? This movie also include the professor, the actor. You know, they claim the lab as not too serious lab. So, but it's very good movie where they explain about the nanomagnetic. Okay.